stake their claim for a place in that final as a minimum, Fresh. So going up against each other to begin with, best of one. You know, let's not forget these two teams, they're only playing 3 times today. So if you lose your first game, it's an uphill battle. Believe me, it gets ahead of you very, very quickly. So it is really, really important to come through with a strong performance here and a strong couple of bans coming in there for us, Fresh.
Very expected, especially on Bank. Hibana is possibly the best operator on this map, and the simple reason is for that basement defense is because you've got 5 hatches that you need to breach, potentially as attacker, or you might want to breach 5 hatches. Usually it will be at least 3, which means you then are forced to play a Maverick plus another breacher, so that'd be Thermite or Ace, or can openers, so the secondary hard breach gadget on a Buck or a Zero, particularly on this map. So Hibana, if Hibana was up, can just get rid of all those hatches, 4 pellets on each hatch, nice and quickly, and it uses very little time for the attackers. So I'm liking that ban coming out straight away from Malvinas.
There we go then. That's going to be our 4 bans all wrapped up. And we are getting underway right now. Heading into round 1 of Bank. This is going to be Malvinas Gaming versus Akave Esports to get us underway. It's going to be Campeonato Sudamericano versus Campeonato Mexicano. We've got everything we could want out of this, Fresh, to get us underway with the LATAM Close qualifiers. And we're going to be heading downstairs. It's going to be lockers and CCTV to kick us off. Just switching away from the Jaeger there. Could be an interesting one for BLK, Fresh.
Screams Rome. It screams Rome. The Oryx and the Vigil there. I mean, the Oryx is an initial kind of identifier. I'm not necessarily sure why you've gone for the 6th pick from the Jaeger to the Vigil, because you've already shown the Oryx. You've already shown your intention to roam here. And what that's going to be difficult for the attackers to do, they've got to clear out the top floor, the middle floor, and then look to hit site. They can't just go direct to site because we're presuming that the defenders are going to play above those hatches, and therefore once the attackers, if they did go straight into site, they're going to struggle to get the plant down because the defenders will have full control from above.
So we're expecting to see the attackers come in with the top floor clearances, you know, what I'd gather from that. They're going to have to get rid of those operators. Now, we can see that Soko has already taken some damage. Don't get yourselves overexcited. It's not his teammate that's done it. If you're just joining us for Siege, one of the abilities of Oryx, as well as jumping up through those hatches, is opening rotations. Basically, he's a big chunky boy, and he can just run himself through those soft walls and create nice rotations. But he takes a little bit of damage. We can't have him running through plasterboard for free, so he's going to take a little bit of damage. That's where that has come from. Now we can see that Soko is out on the roam. He's on that mid floor at the minute. I'm not seeing, oh no, we've got Vigil. I think it's BLK up on the top floor. No, is it? Yeah, BLK looking like he's up on the top floor there. So nice and spread out from Malvinas here. Lots of work for Akave to do.
And what is a nightmare about Vigil is Soko will get taken straight away off the board by a Jackal as well. Jackal, I love this pick because you can clear out the top floor so quickly. Finds one, gets into another engagement with the Melusi, and that's 2 early kills there for Akave. So.
Big start there. We can see coming back in though, Malvinas managed to get things leveled out. Tom Hagen, another player that I picked up on, very, very well rated through stage 3 of the Campeonato Sudamericano, gets himself one on the board to level things up. So right now we are going to see a 3 versus 3. Novit's taking a lot of damage there though. He's going to be challenged by the elevator, surely. The finisher comes in, and yes, it does. It's that man BLK getting himself his first on the board, and if he's a player that can find his head and get those legs moving, Fresh, it could be a quick day for Akave.
Yeah, and I think we've seen a notice of intent from both teams regarding the pacing here. 1 minute fair is gone, and nearly, you know, half of the lobby is off the board. BLK plays very wisely to get himself away from the site, rotates back down as the M-King does get a nade onto Tom Hagen there. We're left with a 2v2 with 1 minute 25 to go. We do see the secondary hard breach gadget coming out on the Zero, so hatches will start to be opened, even though there isn't a quote-unquote breacher on the board.
So 2 versus 2, it is all about trying to get into this site and get some control for Akave. Now we can see them trying to use gadgetry as best they can. We've got the Zero coming in from Guicho here, just trying to get a view, what is going on, who is where, how can we play this to our advantage. They've got time on their side, Fresh. They've got 58 seconds here to work with. They're not in any immediate rush, but they need to be careful that they don't just leave it too late. M-King does have Diffuser in hand, does have the possibility to get himself down there and think about a plant. And right now, it looks to me like Malvinas are just trying to hold themselves back and make it as difficult as possible for that to happen. That's why they dipped back deep. Don't want to be taking overly aggressive fights, but I tell you what, Guicho's going to go and find himself one, but Ragnar able to trade that one out. Now a 1 versus 1. It's all up to MKing. If Akave wants to take this opening round, he's dipping himself round into the vault. He's trying to find his man, but he will get picked up on that default cam. He has no option really other than to think about getting this diffuser down with 13 seconds, but Ragnar plays this a little bit passively, Fresh, and he's going to allow MKing to get that diffuser stuck. It now puts him in a difficult position because he's got to aggress, he's got to attack, and he's only got 25 HP.
1v1 will come out. Mira, he does have a C4 in hand, but MKing hears the C4 rip, peeks him, and kills him. A great clutch there, and a plant that you don't often see an Iana planting, but great composure there for Iana to, you know, go deep, get into sight, plant the diffuser, and then read every move that the Mira was going to make. Round 1 is on the board.
It was a lot of back and forth, wasn't it, during that round? We had the battle out on the roam. We were 3v3 when we were heading into sight, and it just seemed to trade back and forward, 1 for 1 continually throughout there, and nobody able to really gain themselves a massive advantage, and a 1v1 pretty much felt like a fairly fair way for the round to end. But as you say, MKing just able to maybe use a little bit of that experience there at the end of things. Here's the Nitro rip, knows what's coming, and just takes the aggressive stance and peeks the corner at the right time.
Yeah, it was a really nice play. The Mira tried to bait MKing off the plant by, you know, shotgunning a hole, potentially baiting the C4 at that point, but just to stick the plant. And that's that experience. And, you know, we've seen MKing, I think he played 6 Invitational 19 and 20, and I believe under the MIBR brand when, you know, back in the day.
So he's played a ton of
international, you know,
absolutely.
DreamHacks, etc. So he wasn't falling for that. And that is, as you say, that is that experience coming through.
And that's what Akave are going to be looking for from him throughout the day, you know, not just him. But as we say, it's this interesting sort of mix of Brazilian and Mexican players on the Akave roster. So, you know, you're going to be familiar with some of those names, I'm sure. Burst and Novice, MKing, they're all going to be people that you have seen before. Now, Malvinas, they need to get themselves back into this. I think a side like Akave is not one that you want to play too far from behind with. You need to keep yourself in touch. If, you know, they can get themselves 3 or 4 successful attacks on the board here, you sort of start feeling like there's going to be positions that they can lock down defensively. So Malvinas, they're going to switch things up. They're not going to double down on the basement. They're going to head up to the top floor this time instead. They're going to find themselves in the CEO office, and immediately Akave not wasting any time getting into the building fresh.
Not all, and that's it's a consistent theme that we saw. We saw this in round 1, we saw this in round 2. Potentially they're taking a little bit of liberty and missed drones might happen, or they're taking risks with rooms that potentially not droned out and assumed are clear, but they're getting themselves in the building and they're keeping the pace fast. And that's what allowed them to get them 2 entry picks in the very first round. It's what might allow the Sledge here to creep up the stairs and get an entry pick here. Doesn't. Socko manages to win out the engagement without losing a sliver of health, and that aggression is the big downside to it is there was no refragability there. There was nobody with the Sledge. It was 1 drone, 1 Sledge, 1 life lost, and now a 4v5. Bessa is going to rappel up to the roof as a 5v3 ensues, and we're going to see MKing. The defense is in a good position now. They've got 2 picks. Although they've not got a breacher, they've got a 0 off the board, they've got a Sledge off the board. It's a very difficult place to attack, although the Twitch will get a kill from the rappel. He's been hanging on those windows for a good minute now, manages to get the reward from that.
That's it. It's perfect for him, just getting in there, like you say. He needs to find something from that position. Not being in the map makes it more and more difficult for him to have an impact on the round. Now, interestingly there, we just see one of the Malvinas defenders being picked up on the drone. He's going to get pinged out, and he's absolutely no idea that MKing has got that drone up there above him, just inside of the square stairs skylight. So, sorry, the main stairs skylight as it is. So they're aware of the position, but right now, Akave just having to take the time and be patient about exactly how and where they push here. I think, you know, we've got the Twitch, we've got G. He's looking at the elevator. He knows somebody's in and around here, but they don't want to take another death at this stage, and that's exactly what's going to happen as Mike manages to find Bursa, and that now leaves them in a 2v4, and this becomes a very difficult position to challenge onto. Tries to find the man inside of the elevator, doesn't do it. Mking elsewhere in the map manages to find BLK, but now we're playing into mirror windows fresh. They're playing into the setup. It's making it difficult, and that's exactly what the Twitch finds. It's 1, it's 2, it's round 2 over, and it's going to be Malvinas leveling things up at 1-0.
And I think the biggest undoing there for Akave was just the fact of refragability. The fact that the entry engagement on the sledge there, it was a drone and a sledge, as I said, and then the 0 also gets picked off, no refrags coming out. If you're starting around in a 3v5, more or less, and you're trying to launch an attack in a 3v5, the defenders are always going to be able to swing, and they're always going to be able to swing in pairs and refrag that back out until they win the round.
So a nice even start for us. It's absolutely mouth-watering, isn't this one, Fresh? I'm so, honestly, we've had a little time off. Obviously, we've been watching all the qualifiers around the world. We've been keeping an eye on it. We've been watching the relegations. There's been plenty of Siege for us to enjoy. But just being actually back in the mix, behind the mic, watching the games, honestly, I am so excited for next week's SI to come along and just that competition to really kick off between all these big international teams. I cannot wait to watch. It's going to be brilliant. And these two are really firing up the appetite for it so far. We've had some nice battles, some nice back and forth, and I think that's going to continue. This time we're going to be looking at our third site choice from Malvinas. They're going to be coming in to open area and staff. Now, quite a popular bomb site, this one, since the reinvention of Bank, Fresh.
Yeah, and what you see is there's more or less there's going to be 2 ways to defend it that teams tend to try and go for. Is you will see a kind of horizontal take that will push the defenders trying to hold out towards tellers, archives, lobby, or you will see the defenders really try and hold on to that top floor. Now, the horizontal take is generally preferred, and we're seeing the castle here with, you know, the ATM's door that's just been castled. They really want to hold on to this horizontally. As we see Mike, he's kind of lurking around in the bottom floor. Jackal's, he just stopped dead in his tracks. I wonder if he heard a sound or a drone knew he was there, and he does see the feet as well. This Jackal is playing out, you know, it's proving fruitful for the attackers because they're able to get such fast map control because of it.
Not just that, Might does ultimately lose his life downstairs. So we commented on it in round 2, Fresh. Akave came in, they lost the sledge, no trade. This time, very clearly working as a pair, working together and having that opportunity to push from multiple angles, same time, and get the kill to put those defenders in very difficult positions. And that's exactly where Mike finds himself. And he's going to be buried for the rest of this round. He's going to be on the cams, feeding information in, but it's an early advantage to Akave.
Yeah, and it was really nice. It was a drone. It was the Jackal who saw the footprints, and then I believe it was Mking on the skylight holding the top blue stairs. So it was a really nice bit of teamwork to get Mike off the board. Although one is found back onto the book, and we're in a 4v4 scenario. I'm not seeing too much from the attackers here in terms of taking vertical control or horizontal control here. They're kind of just around the map fishing for kills, and this is where I do worry if they do manage to die without any refrag, as we see there.
What a shot from BLK. Absolutely hammers the Jackal across the map there. An absolute beauty going out through that open door. Sorry, no, it was actually Mking on the Arna that lost his life, and even he recognizes it in the chat. We see the nice shot coming out. What an absolute beauty from BLK. It leaves Malvinas with that advantage, and that just gets doubled upon now as Soko finds the Jackal, and that's going to be 4 versus 2. Malvinas getting themselves a really strong advantage. And as you say, Fresh, Akave, they never really did enough work to clear out this top floor to get themselves any sort of map control. So they're now just fighting into it, but they're fighting into it at a man disadvantage. So players like BLK, he can just step out and take the peak, and he's going to take them down. Soko with a second. That's going to be Novice cleared out on the trade to finish off the round. Malvinas go from 1-0 down to 2-1 up.
And I said it in round 2, Tim. I said that when you're taking these liberties with droning, with entering, with the pace that you want to go for on the attack, you really need to make sure you are hitting your shots and you are getting those kills. Because as soon as you're in that attack mode of let's just hang around, let's just fish, let's just not, you know, I don't really know what attack was being deployed there, right? Normally you will see a top square clear the top floor, work the vertical, look to drop the hatch and plant. I can't really see. I saw that coming out of Akave there. They were just more or less fishing for kills, and that's where the struggle can come, is when you fish for kills, but you're just getting killed and there's no refrags. You just, as in a team, in a 5 versus 5 fight, you're putting yourself in such a big disadvantage there.
Well, that's it. You're just not making any progress, essentially, are you? You know, like you say, if you're going in, even if you're not getting the kills, but you're forcing those players out of top floor, for example, in that situation, and you're just taking that map control, you're still in a 5v5, except now you've got the complete top floor and you can start using verticals. You can start finding those advantages for yourself. Whereas, like you say, when you're just going headlong into those 1v1 challenges, you're sort of rolling the dice and hoping you come away. But when you lose those fights, you've got absolutely nothing for it. If you lose a man but claim the entire top floor, then great. Yeah, you know, you've got something for it. But like you say, Akave just not managing to sort of find any payout for the lives that they were losing in that one. We'll see if that improves for them in round 4 as Malvinas now head back down to the basement site. Let's not forget, this is the one site that Akave have been successful on the attack so far. They did manage to win it back in round 1. It was hard fought. It came down to a 1v1. There was a lot of battles around the map. It was pretty scrappy from both teams, and we can see Malvinas fresh. They're not scared. 3 out on the roam again.
The 3 out on the roam, and we're seeing Akave, they're going to go straight and they're going to go direct. And my big problem with this, you see the open hatch there. The A hatch is also open, which means even if they do manage to get in sight, they've got to push deep and they've got to push under hatches that are already pre-opened by the defenders. This is why I love the roam on this site so much, Ace, is because you only have one choice as attackers realistically, which is to go and clear it. 99 times out of 100, if you don't go and clear it and you just push tight direct, you are not going to win the round.
We've got BLK just up there chasing drones inside of staff area at the minute, but as the Vigil, he may well have managed to keep himself off the radar to a degree. Of course, Vigil having the ability to use his corking device, keep himself off those drones, his Vigil signature at least, and we can see BLK managing to find himself an opener there, this time onto the Twitch, and that's going to leave Malvinas 5v4, and again, fresh, it's the same problem for Akave, going in, trying to clear out roamers and losing fights, but gaining nothing for it. They're in no better position than they were 30 seconds ago, except now they've got a man less. They've still got to worry about the hatches. They still don't have control. 3 out of 4 are now down in servers. Fresh, this is surely free for Malvinas to come and start challenging from the hatch.
They need to challenge from the hatch, and they can also bait out the C4s. Presumably, there will be somebody holding the hatch challenges. The nade does come in. The plant does start to go down. This is where Socko needs to make his move. Otherwise, this plant is going to be stuck. It will. We're going to a post plant, and Socko and BLK, they've just let this plant happen. They now need to make good things happen. On the retake, BLK finds one, tags up another, and it really is. It's a 2v3, and it's a very, very hard post plant. 2v2, 2v1. It's all left up to Gucho now. Does managed to get some shots onto BLK, and he knows there's probably one person pushing up his stairs. Doesn't matter. Tom's got a C4 up the hatch, and that will be the round, and a very, very nice actual retake from Malvinas there.
I feel like it was a great play from Malvinas. You know, we've got to recognise that. There was some good kills there. It was a great retake. They played back into it well. The hatches were open. It gave them the opportunity to do that. But I got to feel a little bit like maybe they didn't need to be in that situation. Maybe that was a roll of the dice they didn't need to take, fresh. As we said, there was 3 out of 4 downstairs trying to get that plant down on the side of Akave. You had at least 2 or 3 players from Malvinas upstairs with 2 open hatches. So if you've only got 1 player from Akave potentially up there, they can't monitor both hatches at the same time. So there really should have been an opportunity for Malvinas to be able to challenge that and prevent that diffuser going down in the first place. But I don't want to be overly critical because they reacted well to it. They got the job done, and that's what it's all about, you know, putting the rounds on the board, which is what they've done. 3-1 now, and they're starting to find themselves a nice little advantage coming into the second half in a couple of rounds' time.
We've more or less seen across the board internationally, certainly inside of EUL, and which, you know, is kind of our bread and butter is. We've seen Bank be the more attacker-sided, generally, you know, and therefore, if a defense gets a 3-3 split, which is the very worst that Malvinas will get, they will be happy with that. So Malvinas have more than done their job through these 4 rounds. They've done very well. It could have been 4-0 if a 1v1 had gone their way as well. So they're putting up a really good fight on the defense here, and they'll be looking to get another couple of rounds, and then realistically, they're putting themselves in prime position to win this map out.
They really are, and they're going to be heading back up to CEO. The big problem facing Akave right now is that they are staring straight down the barrel of 2 rounds into sites that they have not yet won. Malvinas were able to lock down CEO on the top floor. They were able to lock down Staff and open area, so now it is not going to be easy for Akave. And as you say, a 5-1 half on the defense, that's the potential here, and that is going to be a real challenge for this Mexican side to come back from. Now then, Novice moving in very aggressively on the sledge underneath. He's getting himself in there. He's actually looking to clear out the denial that's on the back of these walls, I think, so that they can get the hard breach in there and get the walls open from Square Skylight. Just aware, sees his man now then. I'm not sure if that drone gets spotted out by BLK. He's heading back to site anyway, so not too much of a concern, but it is going to allow Akave to continue operating pretty freely from underneath at the minute.
And that's what they've done. They've done it in the first time they attacked CO, is they pushed in the middle floor quite quickly. So Malvinas will presumably be aware of this. The nade came up the hatch. They will have heard that. So they will know that they're kind of wedged into sight, as they might get a challenge here. And Soccer will find another entry engagement onto MKing. This time, though, Novice, he gets the refrag there. So at least that's better for Akave. They have lost a life, but they have managed to get a refrag and get the Malusi off the bot.
That's it, and they start clearing that roam game. They get in something for those lives at least. So 4 versus 4 coming into the second half of the round now. Akave need to start thinking about access to site pretty soon. When you're looking at an attacking siege, you're looking generally, loosely speaking, at 3 stages. 1 is clearing out your roamers, gaining your map control. 2nd is gaining access to site. It's your hard breaching, it's your utility clearance. And then 3rd is that final execution. And right now, coming in towards that final minute, Akave really need to be thinking about stage 2 here, and that's getting that access to site, getting that hard breach done, clearing utility and clearing a space to get the diffuser down. But talk about clearing spaces, Tom Hagen is going to clear a space in the heads of one of the Akave players there as he finds himself a great shot out onto Square Skylight, and the aggression starts to ramp up. We've seen this from Malvinas in those final 30 seconds or so. They get in there and look to find those kills, but it's Guicho who manages to find Mike, level it up at 3 versus 3 now. But Malvinas, my money would still be on them here to hold on to this from deep inside a site. There you go, holding angles, and that's going to be Tom picking up a 2nd on the round. 3 versus 2 now, manages to avoid that damage from the nade coming in as well. There's going to be another following from Novice, and he will not avoid it this time. 2 versus 2, but let's remember, one of those Akave players is still outside of the map on the windows, and that's where it gets dangerous. 1v1, diffuser down. BLK just needs to play the time here, just needs to play the clock, but gets the kill anyway. Guicho sat down, and that's going to be Malvinas taking this 4-1 in towards the half. They are rattling away with this.
Once again, another fast attack coming out of Akave. They get to the middle floor, they get a few nades up, but they can't do much with it. And that's it, that's the round. They didn't quite transform that initial round into a top square take. They didn't get to that step 2, as you said, Ace. They didn't breach, they didn't look for a plan, and they just kept getting picked off. Tom, by the way, he jumped to the janitor rotate and just saw a glimmer of one of the Akave players, took his head off, and then managed to push himself into that deep CO position by where the quote-unquote breach would have come in. It never came in, and he managed to get himself another kill and take up a lot of time and utility, as we saw the nades coming through the window in the end on him. He was a massive distraction, and he potentially, just by that one play that he did, he got 2 kills, wasted a lot of time, has potentially won them the round, because the round, in the end, it came down to time.
Certainly did. Now then, round number 6, we're going to be heading in. Final defensive round. Any of you maybe a little bit newer to Siege, you're picking this up, you're thinking, what's going on? What are the close qualifiers? We are playing, of course, for a place at the 6th Invitational next week, which is basically the biggest tournament of the year for Siege. And this is Malvinas Gaming versus Akave. So Malvinas are hailing from mostly Argentina. We've got 1 Paraguayan player in the shape of BLK, and then Akave is a Mexican team that's got a few Brazilians on there along with them. So these 2 are duking it out. It's a best of 1, and it's at the minute in the initial group phase of this qualifier. So they're going to score points based on the result. They'll go into a group table, and then the top 2 will head through to the knockouts tomorrow, along with 2 teams that auto-qualified for those knockouts. Now, this is going to be the final defensive round for Malvinas, so we've seen them have the run of things on bank here so far. Akave really unable to crack the nut that has been their defense. This is going to be the final opportunity for them to do so, and then they'll switch sides, and it'll be on them to start defending. We'll see if they can start turning things around, but right now I'm just not convinced, Fresh, because I just feel like it's not just down to the defensive setups, it's the fact that Malvinas are just winning gunfights.
I think it's a lack of identity on the attack for Akave, and then Malvinas just having the confidence because they're able to identify 1v1 engagements, and more often than not, they're able to win those 1v1 engagements. As Tom, he does get a little bit too aggressive on the Malusi, gave his position away, and this is a really nice start to the round for Akave. They've baited that aggression. They've got the first kill. They also, it feels like they know where BLK is because of the zero cams, although it's BLK and he can shoot. He does get one, and he does get refragged by the finger. Overall, nice top floor clear. They've got that top floor control that I was asking of them in the last time they attacked this, and they will start vertically playing to try and move Socko out of tellers here.
That's it. It's a nice direct contrast, isn't it? This is what we spoke about last time. They gave away those lives but didn't get the top floor control. Now, yes, they've lost a life, but they can start with the verticals. That's not something that we saw them even have an opportunity to do last time they attacked this site. So let's see how they can use it. They're going to be using that sledge of Novice particularly to try and open up as many angles as they can and just make it uncomfortable for the players inside. The verticals are there. If you find a kill, brilliant, but it's about more than anything forcing defenders out of position. You want somebody really on a horizontal level as well to potentially pick up those players as they have to move, because of course defenders, they set themselves up in the prime position. You want to force them out of those. Don't let them hold the angles that they want to hold, and have somebody ready to pick them up as they try to maneuver into another alternative position.
That tellers area can be so claustrophobic. If you've got someone that's near top square, somebody that's in lobby, or somebody that's playing the vertical, for the castle there, it could be so hard to play. However, it's going to be Might that falls, and it leaves Castle and Soko and Ragnar just on site, and they are split now. Essentially, they've got to take 1v1 engagements and win them before they move on to the next 1v1 engagement, is when this attack does come in. Soko might try and look to rotate through the kind of the elevator's hallway and get himself back to site, as he does look up the stairs to try and find a pick.
Soko, as you say, just continuing that push up there, looking to make something happen here. And it's actually going to be Ragnar that manages to, but not enough. M-King finds the trade, Bursa finishes things off, and Akave get themselves what is a much better round there, Fresh. It's not just about winning the round, it's about how they did it. As we said, getting in there and actually ticking boxes that time. Top floor control gained, kills found, round one, and that is what Akave need. It was perfect time for them as well. They're moving into the second half. They're 2 rounds down, but they move on to the defense now. They've just got that bit of momentum from a nice win in round 6, so maybe that's what they need to just get them fired up and into the rest of this game.
It gives them something to hold on to as well. The difference between a 2-4 and a 1-5, once you go into that, that defensive half that you're going into the second half of the game, can be massive, because they've got a little bit of breathing room now. They've got, they've maybe got a round where they can make a mistake and lose it in a way that they wouldn't have expected. At 1-5, you'd be putting yourself on match point if you did that. Whereas if now it's 2-4, they've got one round where, yeah, sure, it's not great to lose a round, but it would only be, 5 rounds for Malvinas. So they're allowed to actually get onto their defenses and, try run through a couple of them. As we will see probably a similar thing coming out with the Roam. You see in Mozzie, I'm seeing mid-floor rotations, I'm seeing top floor hatches be reinforced. This all screams Roam to me.
Bit of roam, and along with it comes aggression, of course, because the attackers have to go in there, clear out, and the defenders, they're going to take any opportunity they can to get that pick or two, because the primary role of that roam is to waste time. As we know, it's about just forcing the attackers to focus on anything but the site, but also if you can get a pick or two whilst you're along the way, especially onto somebody like a hard breacher, if Tom Hagen loses his life on the ace, it can get really dicey then for the attackers trying to pick up the rest of the round. But as we can see, Malvinas, they are well aware that the top floor roam is being utilised, and they are straight in there to challenge it. We've got Might on the windows with the book. He's going to be drawn in, so I would expect somebody on the entry, more than likely BLK on the Iana. He's going to be pushing in once this information starts feeding back from the drones, and he's going to be looking to try and find that entry frag onto any unsuspecting roamers.
And that's what the stark contrast that we're seeing Malvinas come out is they're doing a full roam clear. They're taking the top floor, they're making sure they've droned every inch of it before they commit any time or utility. Whereas when you got onto Akave's side, they were taking much more liberty, they were going straight to site and then pushing the mid floor. We will, however, see Novice, he gets the opening kill onto Might. And considering this is a basement defense, that was a mid floor C4 thrown up to the top floor, and that's a really nice opening kill there.
It's absolutely fantastic from Novice. That's exactly what Akave needed. Like I say, they win round 6. They've got that bit of confidence, that bit of momentum coming in, and then they get a nice big opener with a Nitro on an absolute freebie, finding themselves 5 versus 4 on what is now going to be a tough site to attack onto. Of course, they've lost the book. There's not too much vertical presence that can be gained onto basement because most of the floor is hard. You can pretty much only use the hatches, so that's not going to be the end of the world in terms of the operator side of things, but in terms of manpower, it's not going to make things easy here. But it looks like Malvinas pretty confident that they've got the mid floor above all locked down. That's all theirs. Map control has been gained, so now they can think about exactly how they get onto site and how they get a diffuser plant down. But they could really do with finding a kill or two before they try that.
It's so much time wasted. As soon as that kill came in, it was a trigger for the defenders, for Akave there, to just fall back to site because they've still got to drone every inch of the top floor, every inch of the middle floor. And look at the time, Ace. Look at the time, 50 seconds left, 5 defenders on the board. I'm looking at a Smoke, I'm looking at an Echo, I'm looking at Mozzie, who doesn't have a C4 actually. So Smoke and Echo to deny the plant, plus the ability of a retake and a 5v4 man advantage. It's going to be so hard for Malvinas to win this attack.
As we can see, they're going to get the hard breach off onto the default plant spot. Ragnar does have diffuser in hand. There's no Nitro for Novice to try and deny from here. We've seen at least 1 Toxic Babe canister go out. There's the second. Soko going to find Novice. We've got 1 remaining canister for Guicho, so he can burn about another 10 or 15 seconds here, which if you look at the top of your screen, is going to be an awful lot of what's left. Ragnar, he has to dip away. Soko finds himself another one. Malvinas have to take the opportunity to get this diffuser down, though. It's going to be the time that is the big enemy here. We can see here comes the push, an important kill onto Ragnar. Soko has no option other than to get that diffuser down. It's going to be too little too late. Fresh somehow G manages to fight his way back into that. I think it's a triple on the round for him, and that was looking dicey in a 2v4 for Akave, but somehow they've locked it out and they've got themselves back to 4-3 on the scoreboard now.
That was an incredible play by the Malusi there, swinging and swinging and swinging until eventually you kill them all. I will say the Smoke denial, the Echo denial, it forced panic in the attackers, and we saw Malvinas, they chose to push deep because they knew there was Echoes on the board. They knew there was Echo drones, so they've got to push deep and they've got to get the kill onto the Echo. You saw the Echo blast going off there just quickly in the replays. Because if they didn't, the Echo probably would have denied. It didn't look like they'd identified where the Echo drones were, so the plant was going to be denied, and Malusi has just made a massive play there, just swinging the door, especially given I believe that hatch will have been open because of the roam game coming out. So if there was a player playing on the hatch, that door cannot be swung. So a slight misplay by Akave there. Overall, it was always going to be a stretch attempt just because of how slow they were in dealing with the roam clear.
Second choice site then is going to be open area and staff for Akave. So we saw this as the third choice for Malvinas. They were preferring the top floor, but Akave deciding that they're not going to go up there just yet. We would expect to see some presence. We can see the stock hatch has just been reinforced. Of course, it's, you know, such a primary push quite often is to drop down that hatch and try and get the diffuser in there. So I would imagine that we're going to see quite a strong defense of the top floor and of the stock area coming in from Akave as well. As the round progresses, of course, we'll see exactly how far they go with that three mute jammers applied to that wall. Fresh, they're really trying to keep that one closed as well.
Yeah, and it's nice to compare and contrast the two defenses and the two attacks, as we will see actually on the two attacks. Malvinas are doing the same thing that Akave did and pushing somebody up the blue stairs early. It looks like they're going to potentially go fast into sight here. M-King finds one, Gaucho finds one, and we're in a 4v3 scenario. It's a rush, but Burst has got the cross here. As M-King, he will use that ulti, which has so many bullets, and he gets it down to a 3v1 scenario. They know that Tom is on the blue stairs because he's just killed M-King. It will have been called out, and this round's all but over, Ace.
It really is. You can't push into an Alder like that. It's, you know, you're just pushing a log into a chipper at that point, Fresh. That's all that's going to happen. And Malvinas have certainly got themselves chipped at that point, because MvG, he's just held down mouse one and found one after another for his trouble. So 3 versus 1. It's all up to Tom Hagen, one of the top rated players on the side of Malvinas through stage 3. So we certainly know that he's got the ability to do this. But the absolute first and foremost job ahead of him is to find kills, and he keeps getting picked up. They know exactly where he is. Spotted out on the default cam there. We've got the dead players, Novice and MvG, doing the work. They'll be just cycling through those cams, making sure that they've got a handle on exactly where this ace is. And what they need to avoid doing is giving him 1v1s, which at the minute they kind of are. You can see he spots a man inside a site there. If he finds that first kill, it leaves it 1 versus 2, Fresh. We've still got a minute 30 left on the clock. There is a lot of work that Tom Hagen could do here.
He does need to identify 1v1s, but if you look, the players have backed off now, so there was a 1v1 potentially there, but it looks like they're backed off and they're just going to play safe, wait for him to walk in the door. Because of them Lucy trap, they know he's on the door, they know he's got to push in, and he does have to push into a one-way crossfire. One in the office, one in open area, one in the kitchen, and eventually he will be found. Eventually this round will be found out as the rush. You can't just rush into an Alder ace, you just can't. It's as simple as
well,
that.
You can, but we've seen what happens when you do. It ain't going to come out favourable for you. And MvG just absolutely didn't even need to move effectively, just mowing them down one after another. So sometimes, you can try and catch people out. We've seen that done before, Fresh. You just open the little hole in the electrical wall, you go in through, open the castle, straight in through the door, absolutely just pile in, mob-handed. But you could just see that Akave was set up for it. That's exactly why MvG was in that position with the Alder. He was waiting for exactly that, and they've paid the price for it. So that levels things out now, and that's 3 rounds in a row for Akave here, and you're really starting to feel like they've got some momentum. Malvinas, you know, they were the ones who seemed to be running away with it. There was so little that Akave could do on the attack to get through that roam game, to get through the defense. It was just so tricky for them, but the answers have certainly been found by Akave, and they're just looking like a different side for me now on defense, Fresh. They just look very, very comfortable. They look like they're controlling the map much better than they did on the attack. And for me, it's looking like they've got themselves a serious advantage.
And that's precisely it, the control in the map. There's more often than not, you'll see Maestros in that position. They're not ready for the rush because this open area site, it takes so much setup. Even the bottom floor, they knew what their win condition is, and it's in stark contrast to their attacks, because on their attacks, they didn't look like they even knew what win condition was, because they were just trying to fish for kills. On defense, they know exactly what the trigger points are and where they need to be to win a round out on defense, and it's great to see. And it's going to be a struggle for Malvinas to try and unpick this, because they are defending, because Akave are defending this so strongly.
This is it. Even when they've had the advantage, Malvinas still haven't been able to turn it over, and you can't throw away a 4v2. You know, if you're going to come up against a good defensive side like this, you got to take the opportunities that are handed to you, because with experience like Akave have got, and I know we keep referencing back to it, but it's important, you know, with the experience that they've got, they are not going to keep giving opportunities like that. You know, you're not going to keep getting those chances. So right now, it's going to be a top floor hold coming in from Akave this time around, and look how aggressive G is playing on the Jaeger here. He's likely to get spotted out. No, maybe not there. He did take down the clone, but if the clone wasn't looking the right way, they won't know exactly where it was taken down from, and that could allow the aggression to continue. I think a drone does just spot the Jaeger that time off the double door. BLK just very aware of those stock windows as well, but I tell you what, G's not for dipping away from this fight, is he?
It becomes very difficult to play with when he's so stubborn. It does actually look like there's a lobby side take coming out, as we see the Buck and the Kanto walls have been breached. So it's potentially just a lurk here for the Ayana until the late round, although they know that the Jaeger's playing so aggressive. So they've got to try and take control of the lobby. The first port of call is to get Burster on that Echo out of the elevator hallway. He will presumably... no, there it is. There's the nade. He will be presumably naded, is what I was about to say. He does get naded. 5v4, nice advantage there from Malvinas.
Great opener from them, but once again, they haven't dealt with that Jaeger there. They haven't dealt with the aggression, and it's BLK who's going to pay the price. He is gone. That's the Iana and potentially some nades along with him, and that now leaves us in a 4v4 and still work for Malvinas. And what I'm worried about seeing from Malvinas here, Fresh, is what we saw from Akave, and that is going in, chasing those kills, finding them, but not really gaining too much from them. Now then, Ragnar finds Guicho. Can you get in? Can you start pushing pushing forward and taking some map control. They managed to get M-King as well. There is an immediate trade there, but 3 versus 2. Malvinas have got a real opportunity here. Soko finds Novice, 3 versus 1 now. It's all up to the Jaeger. We saw some early aggression, but now dipped back into that conference room. Just going to hold on for the time being, expecting a potential drop here. Not going to find his man, and that's actually going to be an opportunity for the Sledge as he comes round the corner. Soko finds the final man. Malvinas managed to get their first attacking round. It's going to be 5-4 now. Fresh, this is your first time casting with me.
Yes.
And it could well be that we are going to overtime on this one.
You might not know this, Ace, but there is a soundboard clip of you saying that from our lovely friend Demo, and he plays it all the time. And I've been waiting to hear you say it when we cast together. It looks like we could be on our way because this game, it's not going anywhere. And what I do like about Malvinas on their attacks is, yeah, sure, they've only won 1 out of 3, but they have identity on what they want to do, and they do it with conviction. We saw them roam clear in the first round on the basement. We saw them go for the rush in the second round on open area. On the third round on CEO exec, we saw the lobby attack coming out, and the window play combined with the lobby attack meant they were just able to pick out people methodically through site, starting with elevators and pushing all the way back through site. The only one downside was the Jaeger getting the kill onto the Iana, because the Iana would have been crucial in most rounds for that little backstab from top square. But overall, really nice, well considered, well thought out round from them.
Let's see if they can find themselves another one. Let's remember that last time around when they were attacking onto basement, it is that round that I referenced where they were 4 versus 2. They had a major advantage. They were in a position to try and get the diffuser down. They just couldn't deal with the MvG on that CCTV door, just swinging them, Fresh, just swinging them. Yeah. Absolutely would not stop and just found kill after kill. And like you say, it just felt like there was a little bit of panic had set in at that point, and it was like they were trying to deal with too many things at once. So there wasn't a clear message of, we have to stop the Malusi on the CCTV door. You know, had that been done, they probably win the round. But ultimately, they were just, Malvinas were just suffering too much to the hands of that chaos, and Akave were able to take full advantage of it. Now, it's going to be a top floor clearance once again. BLK straight up onto that balcony, taking out the double door. There's a drone just at his feet there, you can see going in ahead of him. It's always an interesting one, is this combination, this relationship, this sort of symbiotic nature of the drone and the entry player, and how far ahead is that drone, and that really determines the aggression that they're playing with. You know, the closer that BLK is stood on top of that drone, the more aggressive it is, but the more high risk it is. And at the minute, we see that the drone is a room or two ahead of him. He's going to take a second to drone himself. So that tells me that it's not too aggressive an entry game, this Fresh. They're just sort of biding their time. They want to find the men, get the knowledge, and then they're going to mount a challenge to it, rather than being in a position to just strike immediately.
They know that in the last time that they attacked this, they suffered at the hand of Novice's C4. Now that C4 does go out, it doesn't get anybody. So this time it's already a better round. They can start. Novice will therefore play a little bit more stubbornly, try and fight for his life and fight for the ground, as we see Gigi gets one onto BLK, pushes up, gets another one, and this is a suddenly huge retake of the top floor by the Malusi there.
It is. It's a big play, and it's that Malusi once again. We've already commented how much of an impact they had last time that they defended, this time in a different way. They bring in aggression still in different areas of the map. Shut down eventually by Soko, but the damage is done here. We are now in a 2 versus 4. We've lost the hard breach. This round's over, Fresh. It's all up to Soko. 1 versus 4. The nade takes a bounce back instead of going through the doorway. He's left with no option but to drop the hatch. Cannot find the first. Bursa shuts him down, and that is going to be round for Akave. 5 versus 5. As a minimum, we are going to see all 12.
The nice adaptation there from Akave, because if you remember the last round, they clutched it out, but they should have lost it. And the adaptation there was to fight for the ground more. Novice, when he threw the C4 last time, dropped. The rest of them dropped. But G, straight up those stairs, gets a couple of kills, and really stays stubborn on that diffuser, waste the time, waste the manpower, kills them all out. And it's unfortunate because they just let go of the blue stairs. They got too distracted by the roamers in the mid floor. They let go of the blue stairs, created a big hole in their attack, and it was taken full advantage of there by the Malusi.
Defenders, protect your bombs.
Well, Akave certainly taking their chances. It's 5-5 now. Only one of these two teams is going to get an opportunity to close this game out in regulation time, at least. Whoever wins this one will have, of course, the opportunity. It's best of 12, so it's first to 7. But if that ends 6-all, then we will head into overtime. We'll explain that if we get there. Don't you worry about it. For now, we are watching as Akave go to their second choice site. It's going to be open area and staff now. Last time around, we saw them win this site. It was back in round 8. They've been able to lock it down defensively once. They've been pretty solid so far. And if I remember, last time Malvinas, it came down to a 1 versus 3. There was 2 minutes left to go, and it was all up to Tom to try and do something, but there was just nothing doing.
Would you double down, Ace? I know it would be very risky, but would you double down on the rush? Because surely they're not going to expect you to be stupid enough to rush twice. It doesn't look like Malvinas.
They're not being stupid enough to rush twice.
Right. They're not going to be stupid enough. It's just a little fraction in my mind is like, ooh, they might not expect this 2 times in a row. Because when they did rush the first time, they got gunned down by that order of M King. They presumably don't want to see that again. As we will see, Tommy's going to use a breaching charge on a window. How often do you see that? But it looks like there's going to be a lobby side take coming out here. They're going to try and clear horizontally and then put pressure onto site.
And I think that's what's needed. After last time's result, they need to play this more by the book. They need to go in there and try and get that control and try and work those vertical angles. We saw them, we saw Akave do that successfully, if you remember, on their attacks. The second time that they got in here, they played it differently. They took top floor control and they had a much better round. So I think Malvinas probably need to learn from that. And it seems like that is exactly what they're doing. They're chasing down the alibi at the minute. They're not going to find him for the time being. I think he just wriggled himself away. He's going to be back onto that mid floor, half health, taking a bit of damage for it. But within the first minute or so, Malvinas have been able to take that top floor control. They've got the sledge of Socko. He's actually moved downstairs. He's going to open up some of these castle barricades. But I'm just interested to see, they've got the Book of Might as well. So they've got alternative options for opening up those vertical angles. But it's going to be Guicho. Once again, we've seen a few successful nitros on this map so far. He's going to find Ragnar. That's the 0 gone. And that is advantage Akave once again.
Advantage Akave, map control gained by Malvinas. And what happens with open area is even if you do have the man count, the actual site, it gets very claustrophobic because you're forced within a square meter. Interestingly, which I think I just saw there, the diffuser was dropped down the hatch by the ace charge. It's already pre-dropped. What that means is that they don't need to worry about which player drops the hatch when they eventually do go for a plant. I'm presuming that was intentional. I'm presuming it was intentional. It's
they don't have to worry about who goes.
Yeah, exactly.
But they now do need to worry about somebody going. They have no choice other than to play on that hatch now. That is it. They are locked into that.
I like it. It's big brainers. Guicho, he will find one onto Might, and Socko will find one back onto Novice. It's 4v3, and as you say, it gets a little bit claustrophobic. Look at how much space he's got to maneuver in. Socko, he's going to look for a nade up the hatch, I believe, and he will get it. He will get rid of Guicho. 3v3, Tim. 20 seconds to go.
This is it, BLK. He's poised. He's ready. He's looking to drop. Now then, shots from M King, very important, but he cannot hit them, cannot find the head, and that's going to give an opportunity for Tom to get this diffuser down. Now then, Akave, they got to get moving fresh. BLK finds 1, BLK finds 2, Socko finds the 3rd, and it's going to be a Malvinas collapse at the end of the round there, and that is going to close it out for them and give them the map point opportunity.
How big brain was dropping the diffuser down the hatch there? I mean, I could have seen this before, and I will hold my hands up. I will hold my hands up if other teams have done this, and I've just not clocked it before. But pre-dropping the diffuser in the place you want to plant it is so big brain, because what it does mean is it gives the players the freedom to rotate and be very fluid, and it doesn't matter which player therefore then drops the hatch, as long as you say, as long as a player does drop the hatch. 2 went down at the same time. That means if one of them dies, it doesn't matter because the other one can just pick up the diffuser, carry on. As it was, 2 managed to survive. The crossfires came in, the cover came in for the plant, and it was a really nice attack all in all.
It's a risky little game, Fresh, but you've got to take the risks if you want the rewards, and that's exactly what Malvinas just got themselves. So the question is now, are they going to have a third option for this side? They've tried the rush, it didn't work. They've dropped the hatch, it did work, but will they get away with doing the same thing again? It was a nice little strategy, but as I say, it does come with risk. If a couple of those fights don't go their way, there was a nice nade from Socko onto Guicho, for example, that opened things up. If that doesn't happen, you're locked into that push, and maybe you're just going into a real problem. So let's see what they do here. There's a bit of me, Fresh, that's really wanting to see them try the same thing again and just see if they can get away with it a second time.
There's got to be some adaptation coming out from Akave here, and I've got to wonder exactly how MKing lost both of his Maestro cams, because presumably they're up not just for information, obviously they do provide information, but also to deny that plant late. It looks like he did go to get on them in the previous round, and didn't actually have any to get on because he came straight back out the cam view and started shooting. Interestingly as well, he's gone onto the COG. He's moved from the older onto the automatic shotgun there with the ACOG equipped, so that he's got that long angle for the late round.
But obviously the damage range is going to be a little bit different to what you may be able to put down with the Alder. So again, another little interesting nuance that we can watch for. And then Mike, he's going to take a stray bullet right to the side there. Going to do a little bit of damage, but not too much. Nothing that he will be overly worried about. But this is quick progress from Malvinas, getting in and looking to get control of lobby, looking to get control of towers. And Mighty just keeps getting chipped away at here, Fresh. He's taking bits of damage left, right and centre. Everywhere he tries to push, he is pushing directly into Akave now then.
Oh no, not again.
He's looking to move up those stairs. They've been punished once from there. The question is, will it happen again as the man comes in? Yes, it will. And trade is in place this time. Mike picks up the kill onto G, but not before BLK loses his life, leaving us now in a 4 versus 4. And another little bit of recognition from the opposition there with a nice shot in the chat.
With the way it's setting up, you asked how they were going to attack it the third time. It looks like they're going to potentially look for control of elevator hallway and push in from this, literally from the beepers, potentially with a player playing inside of Archives, holding the cross. It looks like it will be the 0, holding the cross, trying to see through the door. I don't think he's quite got the angle right there, I'm not going to lie, but now he's going to move into Archives and hold it from there. It looks like they might try and force the doorway here rather than drop the hatch.
Gon6 comes out, just going to be clearing out Maestro cams, giving an opportunity to get in. And as you see, this is that sort of late second stage of dealing with all that utility and getting into a position. As you say, there's the switch Fresh. Ragnar moving through now, so it's going to be Socko's job to hold down that cross, while Ragnar looks to get into a position to put the diffuser down. Guicho is in a position to potentially deny, along with MKing as well. They've got Novice underneath on the hatch as well, with Nitro in hand. No, he's got impact nades actually, so that's something to watch as to just how much impact he can have from there. But Bursa, he manages to find Might, and still this utility clearance goes on with 30 seconds left to go and a man disadvantage. This could be a tough ask for Malvinas. They need to think about getting in and trying to get that diffuser down, but they just don't look comfortable, Fresh. They're aware of the man that's below them, and how are they going to deal with it? Ragnar looking to push into sight. He's going to find himself challenged by Guicho. Tom goes down to Novice. Socko finds MKing as he pushes in from the rear side, but this is not going to be easy for Malvinas. Diffuser down, kills go in. Guicho Bursa finish things up, and Fresh, we're going to overtime.
Oh, I've been waiting to say ace, and what did I expect? That was a really nice adaptation there by Akave. Maestro cams, slightly different position. Play your players, slightly different position. Understand what the attackers are trying to do. The castle got an absolutely huge pick there that started the whole end of round phase off, and really Malvinas they were just playing catch up from there, right? They were just struggling to really identify the positions. They were constantly aware of the Malusi below, and they were struggling to deal with it. They pushed in sight, they lost the gunfights, and were all the way to overtime.
We certainly are. So for anybody not too familiar with the Siege format, we're going into overtime, which will be the best of 3 rounds. So the first one to win 2 rounds, basically, is going to be the winner. It's going to be, we alternate every single round now, whereas previously we played 6 defensive rounds and then 6 attacking rounds and vice versa. This time it's going to be 1 defense, 1 attack, 1 defense for Malvinas. So they're going to start us out on the defense. The way that the defenses have gone, Fresh, 4-2-4-2, it would suggest that Malvinas maybe have a little bit of an advantage here, and they're going up to the top floor to kick us off.
What we saw out of Akave in their very last attacking round is we finally saw some structure, we saw some identity, we saw intention of what they wanted to do. They delivered on that intention and they made attacking look easy. The first 5 rounds, they made attacking bank look very hard because they almost weren't working as a coherent team trying to achieve the same objective. So realistically for me, this map and this whole series, this whole map is going to be determined on what Akave want to do on the attack and how they attack this.
Heading into the action phase then, we see quick progress immediately from Akave towards that building. And to be honest, that's something that was, you know, characteristic of their attacks previously, was go and look to drone and get into the building quickly, look for those entries. But it just wasn't always, I think, in the right location necessarily to sort of achieve their objectives, to gain them the sort of control they might need. As it is, Guicho, he's going to get himself on the rappel, look for if he can pick anybody up on that balcony there or potentially through or wall, but it's gonna be an opener for G, who manages to get in and find a kill onto Soko. So once again, strong entry coming in from Akave, got him off the rappel. Malvinas can't be giving themselves away like that. They can't be exposing themselves to those external angles.
No, and that's the biggest problem is it will once again, we're back on these one-to-one engagements as Tom.
He's going to go.
It looks like he's going to get a little bit active. Can he go in the windows? He's thinking about it.
Go on,
is he going to go? He's out. He does find the finger eventually. And now it's more about will he get back to site or how much time he can waste. You'll see some players, they will try and tuck themselves in by the bins on the outside there. Some players will try and go down dirt tunnel. Tom, he's off for a stroll into spawn. He's just going to sit behind the black cat and just try and waste as much time as he can before Quicho eventually refrags him with ease. I was wondering where he was going there, eh?
Well, to be honest, it wasn't a bad decision because, I mean, he didn't necessarily know this, but we saw Novice immediately drop the hatch down to basement. So he knew that he was going to potentially try and come in through the dirt tunnel. So he either goes headlong into a challenge from the sledge whilst he's pinged and identified, or he just tries to run around and waste as much time as he can, which is, you know, what he went for. So I don't think it was a bad play, but ultimately he knew what he was doing when he tried to take the player off the rappel. You're pretty much trading your life 1 for 1 at that point. It's very difficult to get back inside from there, and that was a choice that they made. But look at that for an angle from M-King, manages to find one onto Might, and that is really going to open things up for Akave on the attack here. That is what they were lacking last time around, really getting themselves a solid man advantage. They always seem to, as you say, go in and get picked off one at once in trades, but not this time. 4 versus 1. Novice finds BLK. It's all up to Ragnar to keep Malvinas in this. They are not. They're going to lose the round. 1 more, and it's going to be a total loss in overtime for them. Not going to be easy now as Akave move on to the defense as well.
Absolute night and day difference in their attacks. The final 2 attacks that they put out, the final one of regulation, the first one of overtime, they've controlled the map so well. They've controlled the defenders so well. They've not got over aggressive. They've not entered into the unnecessary parts of the map like we saw them do in the first few rounds on Akave's attack. Instead, they were considered. They were waiting for the peaks. Obviously, they got Tom when he got on the jump out. And from there, it really was. The defenders were in that scenario where you're in a 2v4. You've got to make a play. You've got to find an engagement and win that engagement to have any chance of clawing the round back. Akave, they were ready for that. And they just saw the round out. It was a beautiful round for them.
Beautiful indeed, and it's going to take us into what could be our final round here. Now, I tell you what, Fresh, the one thing that this game, well, it's not just the one thing, but one of many things this game has done for me is get me excited about these course qualifiers. This is our first game of the day. We've seen 2 teams absolutely wailing on each other. We've seen some smart plays. We've seen some adaptation. If you think about Akave's attacks from round 1 and 2 to round 5 and 6, definitely improved, definitely showed that adaptation, and that's what I'm loving. Both of these 2 teams, you know, they are really setting a tone here for this group stage on day 1.
5 seconds remaining.
They really are, and it's the quality. We're not seeing bad siege by all means. We're seeing very good fought out, you know, 2 teams that are, it's almost like we're seeing boxers, Tim, that are just punched one back at each other, and they're sparring with each other. It's round by round by round by round, and honestly, you don't know who's going to win. It's why we've gone into overtime. Akave have the advantage and they have the defense. So currently Akave are on the front foot, but Malvinas, they're more than good enough to strike one back.
Oh, absolutely. We've seen that throughout. But the big negative for Malvinas here, the big struggle is the fact that they're attacking onto lockers. They're going down to that basement site. Akave defended this twice. They won it twice. Round 7, round 10, they locked it down. So there's going to be a lot of confidence from the Mexican side here in their ability to close this out. Now, Soko just manages to slam the brakes on there and avoid his drone getting eaten up by that Mozzie pest. But going to tell them exactly where Novice is likely to be playing. They know that he's been in and around this area previously. He detonates the nitro, not going to find any joy with it. He has done previously, but not in this round. Leaves us now 5 versus 5 still. We're a minute into the round, and Malvinas are slowly looking to increase the pressure onto Novice. But I tell you what, the Mozzie doesn't look like he's for moving.
And that's the adaptation that Malvinas had.
Sit down!
Is they were trying to go horizontally. As Novice, as he says, he gets that kill and you see the immediate drop off. That's exactly what he wants in every single round on that roam. Get the kill, drop off, make them re-drone it. He gets such an unreal kill and he does drop off. He does just that.
Absolutely perfect start from the Mozzie and from Akave. They are looking, of course, here for 2 points. If you win in regulation time, you get 3 points, 0 for the losers. But when we get into overtime, there's a little consolation. The points get split. So the losers will take 1 point and the winners will take 2. So it's going to keep things a little bit tighter in the group for the rest of the day as well, without us having a clear winner here. So it just keeps adding layers onto the tension that could be this LATAM close qualifier. Now, BLK, he's just dropping nades down the hatches. We've got Malvinas established on the mid floor now. All defenders, I think, are back and accounted for. Shut down inside a server. Mike manages to find G, and that leaves us now 4 versus 4, and Malvinas have got everything they need to start pushing towards site, but they're going to have to deal with these defenders that are deep, and that's what they've failed to do previously.
That's 3 smokes and echo drones on the board, and man disadvantages. Novice has retaken the hatch. That's going to be even more time wasted as an attacker. He has to rotate up. He has to go and kill Novice before they go for an execute here. It's all on Novice's life here. If he stays alive for another 10 seconds, that is the round done.
Very important for him to just try and hold his position. He can hold off a plant. He can just back that smoke up in the job that he is trying to do at the minute. Last Toxic Babe canister is deployed. Here goes Novice. Manages to find one with the spray down. Doesn't know there's a second coming, but the damage has been done. It's 3 versus 1. 7 seconds. Emkin closes it out, and that is going to be Akave taking our opening win against Malvinas in what was a hard-fought, tense affair on Bank.
And it's just that experience coming through, Ace, that experienced Novice there. He knows that they're so focused on site. He pushes up, he